Hey everybody, what's up? Happy Sunday. I am super excited to be back with you guys for another live chat tonight. And I wanted to just hop on and talk to you guys a bit more about solo hiking. I posted a video about 2 weeks ago that a lot of you guys resonated with, and it chatted a lot about, why I love to hike solo. And I've gotten a lot of questions since then on things that you guys were wondering, not just about solo hiking, but about getting into hiking, getting into backpacking, and things that, you guys were interested in hearing some tips and tricks on. So I wanted to chat with you guys about that. And since you are joining me live, or if you're joining live, definitely use the chat box. Ask me any questions that you guys have. I'm going to run through a lot of the questions that you guys asked here on YouTube and on Instagram as well over the last couple of weeks. But if there's anything that you can think of that you want to find out an answer to, drop a comment in that comment box and I will answer it. My last live video, you guys were super chatty and I really enjoyed that. So I know we had a little bit of a time thing this week because YouTube is like in some weird time zone. And so when I schedule it, I'm always like, oh my God, that's not the time I wanted at all. So I've had to change it like 4 times. So for those of you that are here right now, thank you so much for being here. And before I get into some of your guys' questions, I'll tell you a little bit about what I did today. I actually went up to Cloudlands Canyon, which is in northwestern Georgia. It's a really beautiful area up by Chattanooga, bunch of waterfalls. So I'm excited to share that video with you guys in a couple of weeks, and got to actually stay in a yurt last night, which was kind of my first little glamping trip, I guess, of the year. So that was pretty fun. And the waterfalls are amazing right now because there's been a ton of rain. So just absolutely beautiful place to visit. And thank you so much for joining. If you're joining right now, my chat, oh, there we go. I was going to say, it's not refreshing, but I see you now. Weed Hop, great to have you. And, for those of you that are joining right now, a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar names for me. So welcome. And I hope you guys enjoy. If you have questions, let me know, as I said. So I'm going to go over some of the things you guys asked. I have a list here. Thank you. Yeah. And for those of you that are not subscribed, I do post pictures and videos sometimes in YouTube. If you subscribe, you'll see like on my stories and stuff like that. So definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new here. Do I have any specific boots or hiking shoes for different trails? Yeah, I do. So I have a couple different pairs of hiking boots. And for those of you that watched my Longs Peak video in Colorado, you saw that I actually hiked in sneakers, which I don't normally do, but I really like Merrell as a brand. My feet are a little bit wider, and for me, those shoes tend to be a little bit more comfortable for me. I also have 2 pairs from Decathlon, which is a European company that's just recently come to America. So those are kind of my 2 favorite brands. I also really like Keen as a company because they are sustainable. And if any of you are into barefoot shoes, there's a company called Vivo Barefoot that makes Portuguese leather barefoot hiking boots, actually, and they are super sustainable because they actually will allow you to send them back if they ever wear out, and they will replace the sole or the different components if the shoes ever wear out. So those are kind of my 4 brands that I look at for hiking. And I definitely have like a summer hiking boot and a winter hiking boot for the different trail conditions. And as you've seen in some videos, I sometimes but rarely hike in sneakers, but I usually try to wear a hiking boot. Am I coming to India anytime? I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. I'm probably going to butcher it, but Abhinav. I'm not sure if I'm going to come to India. I would love to come to northern India, see the tigers, go on a safari up there, and see the elephants and other wildlife. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it's definitely on my list. And so yeah, India at some point, I don't know when, but I'm not going to say that I won't go there because I definitely would love to. And just reading your guys' questions here. Jay Walker, hi, nice to connect. Another North Carolina hiker from the area. And I'm so glad to hear that I'm an inspiration for your daughter. Thank you so much. And I'd really like to include in my videos, or I'm going to include in the upcoming videos, you know, more, I guess, talk from me on how to get motivated and how to really love yourself and love the outdoors. As many of you may know, and some of you may not know, I was an athlete most of my life, and I really have instilled in myself a very strong motivation for a lot of things. And I definitely want to share that with all of you and help you guys build your confidence, not just in yourselves, but in your skill sets, in getting out into the outdoors and feeling comfortable in the wild and in the woods. So those are things I'm definitely going to be including in future videos as well. And Krieger versus Big Brother, hey, how are you? Good to see you. Kyle, hey to you too. Thank you guys so much for joining. Really appreciate it. So one of the other questions that I had from you guys from Instagram was actually how to not get lost. So I, speaking from experience, have gotten lost a lot. Not like anything serious, but I talk a lot in my videos about All Trails. If you guys don't have it, you should download it. It is an app that's available on your iPhone or on an Android phone. You can also go to it online. There's a website for it as well. You can download trail maps. And if you pay for the pro version, which is pretty inexpensive for a year, you can actually download the maps in case you lose service. So it's a really great way to be able to not get lost. And it actually will, like, if you have an Apple Watch or, you know, for your phone, it actually will make your phone or your Apple Watch vibrate if you lose the trail and be like, hey, you're not on the trail, check your map. So I find that that's a really good way to stay on the trail. And as you guys might have seen as well, I just got a Garmin. So finally, I've upped my safety, my self-safety, I guess, in the wilderness. So I have one of those now so I can stay connected with people if I do, you know, find myself in a dangerous situation or need some sort of rescue as well. So if you do solo hike and you're going out in the backcountry, I recommend that you get some sort of safety device, whether it be a Garmin. There's also Rescue Link that makes devices for a satellite connection as well. And there's another company as well that makes GPS devices that you could check out. Most of them are subscription based, but I think for my Garmin, I'm paying like $12 a month, which allows me to have about 10 text messages per month, which I figure that's about 2 per trail. So that should be a pretty good amount. Kyle, thank you. He said my e-truck video was great. I appreciate that. So for those of you that may not know, I have a second channel now for nature news. I know it wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but for those of you that liked those videos that were on nature news, environmental policy, and that kind of thing, those are on a separate channel now, which you can find from my main channel here or by searching nature news on YouTube. And I am still doing bi-weekly content over there, and we'll be upkeeping that and making more videos in the next couple of months for that channel as well. Lillian's father, oh, hi, nice to see you, and thank you for coming to the channel. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to try to do these live chats, you know, every other week again and get back on track. I've had really busy work schedule lately. As some of you may know, I'm working on Spider-Man, and we're working like 6 days a week right now. So not a lot of time to be able to concentrate on all of this fun stuff and chatting with you guys, but really happy that you guys are here and that I could come on tonight and chat with you guys about solo hiking and exploring. Hi, Exploring Bucket List. Good to see you. Glad to have you in the chat tonight. Just reading some more of your guys' questions here. Random stuff. How do I deal with wearing contacts while camping? I'm going to have to look into that for you. I actually don't wear contacts or glasses. But so I'm going to have to do some research for you and look into that. I would say, you know, bring your solution with you and make sure you have ways to clean your hands and things like that. But I'm going to look into that, and maybe I can include it in an upcoming video. So thank you for asking that. I'm just reading, guys. Sorry. DG2426. Oh, I'm so glad you guys have started hiking and diving. That's awesome. I'm glad I could be here to help keep you motivated. And as you guys know, I love to scuba dive as well. So hopefully when, I can travel a bit more, I'll be doing a bit more diving and ocean videos as well. Obviously this year has become pretty hiking focused because of the current climate, but hoping to get out and do some more adventures this year. And I've got big plans for a lot of hikes for the rest of the year, which I'm really excited to bring to you guys on this channel in the upcoming months. And I'm going to go back to my list here and answer some of your guys' other questions. And exploring bucket list, if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat. I am reading them here live. So if you've got something you want to ask, definitely just drop a comment right now and I will get to you next. And I know one of the other questions that you guys had was about how to stay safe with animals. And I think that the best way to do this is just to be prepared, especially with bears or mountain lions or any kind of animal. They do smell food scents. If you're in an area where there are big animals, you want to make sure that you have some sort of bear box or bear bag, that you keep your food far away from your tent and it's in a smell-proof container, whether that be a bag or a box that you have to carry, and just make sure that you continue to be safe. And for me, when I'm hiking alone and I'm in areas where there might be cougars or bears, I try to make myself known on the trail. I try not to be really quiet. I try to make more noise, and I usually pick up some boulders or some big rocks or something like that if I think that I hear an animal. And I also have a little emergency alarm that I wear on my backpack that makes a really loud noise that I pull or could pull in case I saw an animal. Okay, now I'm seeing lots of questions. I love this. You guys are great. Where did I stay when I went to explore Zion National Park? I actually stayed in a hotel right outside Zion National Park. I can't remember the name of it. I'm really sorry about that, but I will have to look that one up. If you want to send me a DM on Instagram, I will be happy to look up that information and share it. But yeah, I stayed in a hotel right on the outside of the park. That was absolutely beautiful and pretty budget friendly as well. So I did not camp in the park, but I would love to go back to Zion and do that. And for those of you that saw my St. George camping trip, which was the Red Cliffs, that is about 45 minutes south of Zion. Zion's main entrance, that is. So that's another place that you could camp in, the day before you go into Zion. But I'll get back to you exploring bucket list on that one because I can't remember the name of that hotel. And thank you guys for, just hopping in the comments and saying that you're a new subscriber. I want to thank all of you new subscribers. And, this channel is growing a lot lately, and I have you guys to thank for that, and all the OG subscribers in here too. So I love having all of you and answering your guys' questions and, connecting with you on all the other social platforms as well. So it's really just making my 2021 off to a really good start. And since I was just talking about animals, Martin just asked in the chat here if I've actually encountered any dangerous wildlife like bears or snakes. I've encountered quite a few snakes hiking. I have actually never encountered a bear or a cougar. I'm sure that they've seen me, but I have never, come across one on the trail. I've definitely seen rattlesnakes on the trail in California and Arizona, and copperheads out here in the southeast as well. I do not like snakes. I mean, I respect snakes, but they're definitely not my favorite critter. And anytime I'm hiking on a trail that has high grass, I am literally like, oh my God, where's the snakes? Where's the snakes? So if I hear a rustling in the grass, you'll see me jump 10 feet because I just always think it's a snake and it freaks me out. But yeah, so that's the only really animals that I've seen on the trail. Nothing big or dangerous as of yet. So good question, though. Do I carry any self-defense or bear spray? I only carry bear spray when I am hiking out in the Rockies and like Montana, Wyoming, where there might be grizzly bears, or there might be other large animals like mountain lions, or, you know, big black bears that, you know, and I'm camping. So like when I went to Rocky Mountain National Park last year, I did have bear spray on me. It's not something that I typically carry, but because I was going to be backpacking and because I was alone, I did have that with me just in case. I think the thing that I worry the most about is like you're sleeping in your tent and something tries to get into your tent. So that is the reason that I brought bear spray, but I don't typically carry that. I don't worry much about cougars or bears in pretty much anywhere else in the country. I grew up with a lot of black bears where I grew up in New Hampshire, and they, for the most part, leave you alone unless you get between them and their babies. So bear spray on occasion. Other than that, I just have my little alarm that I carry and a multi-tool. And I do have a machete, but I don't take it on many hikes, but I do carry it in my car. So those are my safety things that I carry. I want to hike the entire rim of the Grand Canyon or the entire length of the Appalachian Trail. That comes from BlueFav70. That is awesome. I wish you very much luck on either one of those. Honestly, if I had to choose between those, I would probably do the rim of the Grand Canyon. Now, it's going to be a lot more hot. It's going to be a lot hotter in temperature than obviously Appalachian Trail. But I think that's something that fewer people do. I think you're going to have just spectacular scenery, but be careful if you do that because depending on the time of year, you're going to have really crazy weather. You know, the Grand Canyon is well known for flash floods. You might have a super bright, beautiful day, and then all of a sudden a thunderstorm rolls in. So make sure you do your research on that and pick a appropriate time of year and make sure that you have enough places where you can get water because there's not a lot of water available there as well. So those are just my kind of quick little tips on that. But if you do the AT, you're going to find plenty of friends along the trail because it is a really busy trail. Good vibes. I'm planning going to Colorado in September. It's going to be my first experience hiking. What tips can you give me? Okay, well, Colorado is a fantastic place to go hiking. It's one of my favorite states for exploring. My mom is from there. She lives there, and I spent a lot of time there this past summer as well. Love Colorado. I would say, as far as a beginner backpacker, make sure you have your 10 essentials in your backpack. I actually have a video coming out on this on Sunday, so stay tuned for that. But make sure you have, on top of those safety devices, you know, that you have good fitting shoes that you've already worn, you've already broken them in. You make sure that they don't give you blisters. Make sure you always have an extra pair of socks because if your feet get wet and then you're walking in wet socks and wet shoes, you're going to get blisters. It's going to ruin your experience from there on forward. I would invest in some trekking poles if you're going to be doing a lot of mileage, especially out in Colorado because it's not the ascents that get you, it's the descents that get you as far as, you know, knee pain and things like that. And make sure you have sun protection and just have a plan as well. Have a plan of where you're going to get water, where you're going to spend the night, things like that. Colorado in the summer is a really busy place. A lot of people out hiking, a lot of people reserving campsites as well. So you want to make sure that you, especially if you're staying in any of the national forests, that you do book ahead of time for those reservations for campsites because there's not always walk-up places available, and you'll just want to make sure that you have a place to sleep and have a place to make sure you're safe for the night. So I hope that answered your questions. But as I said earlier, if you guys have other questions that I don't answer right now, you can send me a DM on Instagram, and I'll be happy to answer you guys as quickly as I can on there as well. R.I. Lopez, planning on following in your footsteps in Chattanooga with my twins. Thanks for making some of these videos. Yeah, you're so welcome. You're going to have a great time. For those of you that missed it, I did an outdoor travel guide to Chattanooga a couple months back. And for those of you that are on this side of the country, you know, Chattanooga was actually voted like the best outdoor city by Outside Magazine. There's a ton of stuff to do there, from hiking and biking to kayaking and whitewater rafting and rock climbing. So it's a really awesome place. There's tons of stuff for kids to do there as well, like Rock City Gardens. There's an underground waterfall there called Ruby Falls. just a lot of stuff. So I'm glad you guys are going. I hope you have a really great time, and feel free to share photos with me on Twitter or Facebook as well. You guys can just, post stuff to my page as well. I'm always just love seeing your guys' adventures that I've helped you, get information on. So that stuff I always love. Danny P, hey, thank you for your videos. They definitely inspire. Once the snow melts, I'll be doing Longs Peak. Do you typically hike with a filtration system or carry your own water? This is a great question. So depending on the trail, well, let me start by saying I always carry my own water. I usually carry about 2 to 3 liters of water depending on the time of year. Like today I was out hiking, I had about 2 liters of water. Sadly, my hose actually broke today, so I couldn't drink that much water. So that was a little bit of a snafu, time to get a new one. I've had that one for a long time. But for Longs Peak, I actually brought a filtered straw, and I actually refilled water like 4 times on that trail because I had actually forgotten my water bladder. I only had 2 water bottles, which is not enough at all for that trail. You're going to go through probably, 8 water bottles, honestly, for just drinking water because it's warm at the bottom. It's a long hike, and you're going to drink a lot. So I recommend definitely bringing some sort of water filter for that. I'm actually going to look up really quick on Amazon the name of the one to recommend to you, because I was just looking at getting another one the other day. And so excuse me while I just look this up really quickly, guys. And I also have like a life straw that I have as well. And I also on Longs Peak actually melted snow because I was so thirsty. So I definitely always have a backup. And I recommend that any one of you guys that's doing a longer hike as well should have like some sort of backup water system. So the one I want to recommend to you, it's called Sawyer. It's called the Sawyer water filtration system. It's actually basically like a squeeze bottle that goes onto a water filter. So you could like fill up in a stream, and then you could squeeze that water into your Camelback or into your other water bottles, and it will get rid of the contaminants if there are any in that water. So I really recommend that one, and I'm going to be adding that to my pack as well, because I have right now the Ketadine bottle, and then also I have a life straw, but I'd like to have something that I could easily just kind of transfer stuff into my water bottle for the longer hike. So great question, Danny. Appreciate it. And I hope you have a great time on Longs Peak. Definitely be careful and definitely check the weather before you go. Sean asked, have I hiked the North Country Trail? I haven't, Sean. I'm not sure where that is. Let me look that up really quick on All Trails, and I will let you know if I've ever hiked in that area. North Country Trail in Michigan. I hope that we're talking about the same one. I actually haven't hiked in Michigan at all. So that's a state that I haven't done much exploring in. But Upper Peninsula is definitely on my travel list. So when I get up there, I'll definitely be trying to do some of that. That's a great suggestion, and I appreciate it. Random stuff. Have I used that alarm before? I have not used for those of you that are wondering, I'm talking about my safety alarm I carried in my backpack. It basically sounds like the worst screaming, like horrible screeching, beeping alarm that you'll ever hear. And I have not used it. I did accidentally set it off in the airport once, which was really interesting, but I've never actually used it out in the wild. I've been pretty fortunate so far to never have any, bad animal encounters or bad human encounters either while on the trail. So haven't used the alarm, and I'm sure you guys will hear about it if and when I ever have to, which hopefully won't happen. Mark Cummings, was it Blueberry Inn? No, it wasn't. He's talking about Zion. That's not the name of it, but I'm going to look that up when I get offline here and let you guys know. And another question here about beginning hiking. Have I done any hiking in Pennsylvania? This comes from Patrick Heinz. I haven't done much hiking in Pennsylvania, although when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania. I actually went to summer camp at Woodward. For those of you that live in Pennsylvania, you'll probably know exactly where that is, but it's outside State College. And I actually went to gymnastics camp there for many, many years, but I haven't ever headed back to do any hiking. I know that the sections of the Appalachian Trail that go through there are very pretty. So if I ever end up doing the Appalachian Trail in sections or, in total, I will definitely be heading up through Pennsylvania. But as of now, I haven't done much hiking, or any hiking, I should say, on Pennsylvania. But great question. Let's see. All right. Do I use my Apple Watch for my hikes? That comes from Caleb Bass. I do. I actually, so I track my hikes on my phone on all trails. And then I usually will also track it on my Apple Watch. I didn't today because I just actually forgot. But I normally do that, and it's only because I'm like obsessed with how many steps I get in a day. I don't know if you guys are like this, but like every day at work, I'm like, how many steps have I done? Am I at 10,000 yet? But yeah, so I do track them on my phone as well. On my watch as well. And it's always interesting to see kind of like the difference in apps and seeing which one is more accurate or less accurate. I don't really know. They're never the same, but I like to track them, yes, on my Apple Watch. And I know that there's a Garmin watch as well, a friend of mine has, that he raves about. So if you guys are looking for a watch, I've heard really great things about that one as well. And all of you guys that are new joining in the chat, thank you guys for joining. Welcome. Happy Sunday or Monday if you're in Europe and joining in the morning. We're just talking about solo hiking. We're talking about beginner hiking. We're talking about hiking tips and tricks. So any questions that you guys have, drop it in the chat. As Mark said, be ready for afternoon thunderstorms. I think it's talking about Colorado again. Hike with Mike. Have I ever done any swamp hiking? I don't know if I want to do any swamp hiking. Actually, that's not true. Okay, so where I grew up in New Hampshire, we actually had a swamp on our property. So I don't know that I would call it hiking. It was more like swamp walking. But I spent almost half my life probably out meandering around in the swamp with my sister with our rubber boots on and looking for frog eggs and salamanders and catfish. So I did spend a lot of time in the swamps as a kid, but up in New Hampshire we don't have, Florida snakes. When I think of swamps, I think of Florida. I don't know why. Krieger versus Big Brother, that's probably your fault. But yeah, not a lot of swamp hiking, but I have done a little bit. There's so many beautiful critters that you can find in the swamp, and also in wetlands, that's where you can find moose if you're in the northern hemisphere. So definitely some beautiful critters that you can find in the swamps, but haven't done much of that in like the southern swamps. So something I need to add to my list, I guess. Weed Hub says, a park ranger in Arizona recommended years ago to always have a filter no matter what. Yep, great. Second that. So yeah, have a water filter with you, especially if you're in hot areas, especially if you're, going out solo, and if you're doing anything that's long in mileage, you definitely want to have one, because I've run out of water in the summer and it's not a fun experience when you're really thirsty and you go, there's nothing left in there. Oh my God. Alaskan Mal. Oh, okay. Alaskan Mal 63. Sorry guys, I stopped being able to read for a second there. Have I ever hiked the Upper Peninsula of Michigan? I actually was just talking about this. I haven't, but Upper Peninsula is on my list of places I want to go explore. Isle Royale. I'd love to go see the wolves in the Upper Peninsula, and I'd really like to experience that whole national park and do some hiking there. So when I have time and I can get over to that area kind of the middle northern section of America, I definitely want to go and hike in the Upper Peninsula. So definitely on the list in the future. Not sure when that's happening, but it's definitely a place that I want to go and see. Absolutely. Ross Miller, loving your videos, rich in content, former publisher. Anticipating a book project. Yeah, well, funny that you say a book. I have honestly been thinking about writing a book for many years. First, though, I'm going to be writing a kid's book for some guys that you have probably, wrong shoulder, probably seen in some of my photos on Instagram and kind of in the background of some of my videos sometimes. So it'll be a kid's book first, and then I will definitely be at some point writing a book, a memoir, or, you know, an adventure, tales of adventures. And definitely I've been trying to put together for like 3 years now a book on of photos and other things. One of my other kind of book ideas that I want to do, which maybe I'll get your guys' thoughts right now on it, is to actually have, it would be a travel and recipe book. So it would be beautiful photos from far off the beaten path places mixed with recipes and actual dishes from small like boutique families from like these small off the beaten path places. And so it'd be like a mixture of beautiful coffee table book with exotic recipes from different places. So that's another idea that I have for a book at some point in my life here. But glad to connect, and thank you for so much for being in the chat. And I really enjoyed that question. Exploring Bucket List just asked, are there any hot springs near Zion National Park? I believe there are, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. So put that in your DM when you send me that message on Instagram, and I will look that up also and put that in there for you. If you guys are looking for hot springs, Colorado has so many. And one of my mom and my traditions is actually to go on like a hot spring road trip. And if you're looking to do that, Colorado is a fantastic place because literally you can do like this whole loop around the entire state. You can go to the Great Sand Dunes, you can go through the ski towns, and you can hit hot springs in every spot. Now, a lot of them still are not reopened because of COVID, but by the end of the year, I think a lot of stuff's going to be reopened. And as long as you have reservations, you'll be able to go to these places. Also in Wyoming, over by Yellowstone, there's some great hot springs, but I'll try to put out a blog post in the next couple of weeks or months maybe on some of these hot springs. But yeah, Exploring Bucket List, definitely add that to your DM, and I will I'll look into that for you and let you know. Sean Peer, are you a lightweight hiker? I would definitely say no. I don't know if any of you guys are lightweight hikers. It's something that I would aspire to be, but I usually have about, 5 to 10 pounds of camera equipment. So for me, hiking lightweight doesn't really exist, because even if I only had, my water and a snack, I still have 10 pounds of camera gear. So that's why you guys usually see me with my big, huge Shimoda backpack, is because I've got all my cameras in there. And even when I try to downsize and maybe just shoot on my GoPro, I still have my GoPro and a backup GoPro, a light, a tripod, or 2 tripods, so that I can have a secondary one for my cell phone in case I want to take other photos or any like selfies or anything like that. So hard for me to be lightweight, but it is definitely something that I would aspire to do, because hiking on Longs Peak this past summer with like my tent and all that stuff, it was a really heavy backpack. And I would have liked it to be a lot lighter. So it's something that I am trying to learn how to maybe lighten my backpack a little bit. But as of right now, definitely not a lightweight hiker. Delwyn Elder says, pepper spray works for bears. Is there some deterrent for mountain lions? I mean, I think, good question. I don't know that pepper spray doesn't work for mountain lions. I would say for mountain lions, you definitely want to look like you're big. In mountain lion territory, when I hike by myself, I usually, if I feel like I'm in an area where there might be a mountain lion, I will pick up a rock or a big stick. That way, if I did happen to see one on the trail, I could raise my arms with my, sticks or whatever, look like I'm much bigger. I would yell loudly, and hopefully that would deter the animal. The one thing is to never turn your back on the animal and do not run. So you just want to make sure that you appear like you're a bigger animal than the animal that you're seeing on the trail. And that would be my best advice for most of the animals. I know there's a couple different rules depending on the different types of bears that you see. You know, I believe it's brown bears that you're supposed to actually play dead if a bear actually tries to attack you and you are on the ground. So it's best to just kind of do your research on that. But as far as mountain lions go, yeah, you definitely just want to look big, make a lot of noise, and try to look like you're the aggressor in the situation so that it wants to back off. Hello from Marin County. I just finished a 10-mile hike, Mount Tamalpais. Oh yeah, that's an awesome one. And you inspired me to purchase hiking boots and get out onto the trails. Oh, thank you so much. That melts my heart. I love that. And thank you guys all for sharing, you know, these things with me when you get out on the trail for the first time, or if you get inspired from watching one of my videos to head out into the wilderness or plan your first backpacking trip or your first camping trip. I love, love, love hearing it. So it just really makes my day. And I really appreciate when you guys share that kind of stuff. So Finn Coaching, that's awesome. And I'm glad you had an awesome hike today. Such a beautiful place up there. I love Marin County and up by San Francisco. If you guys don't know where that is, it's kind of north of, you know, it's the San Francisco area, and just north of the city, there's some beautiful coastal mountains and redwood forests and beautiful places to hike. So beautiful area for sure. Matt Olson, I grew up in New Hampshire too. Have I ever hiked Mount Shikorowa? Yes. Mount Shikorowa was a hike I did with my parents and my sister a lot, actually. For those of you that are not familiar with New Hampshire has some beautiful hikes. Franconia Notch was another one I did a lot with my parents. But Shikorowa was definitely one I did quite often with my parents. It's a pretty challenging hike for those that are maybe new to backpacking or hiking, I should say. But it's really beautiful. It's very rocky. You know, New Hampshire is the granite state, so there's big rocks everywhere. But yeah, Mount Shikorowa definitely have done. I would love to do it now that I'm older, because I haven't probably hiked it since I was, you know, 15 or 16, but hiked it a lot as a kid. So thank you. Always happy to connect with fellow New Hampshireites and live free or die. Hiking Kyle, I know you've hiked Kilimanjaro. Are there any other international hikes you've done or want to do? Himalayas, Patagonia, the Alps, etc. Yes, Kyle, there are. Thank you for asking that question. So a couple of international hikes that I really want to do. One is Mount Roraima, which is in Venezuela. I'm not sure with the political instability when I'll get to go and do that one, but that one is really high on my list. I'd like to do several more of the 7 summits. I don't want to do Everest, but I would like to do Aconcagua in Patagonia. Or in Argentina, I should say. I would love to do Karsten Pyramids, which is in Indonesia. And there's definitely some hikes in Switzerland I'd love to do in the Alps. I'd also really like to do the Dolomites and just hike in the Dolomites. There's a lot of other places. And Denali, which I know is not international, but in Alaska, I definitely want to do that as well. So lots of hikes that are international that I'd love to do. And before the pandemic, I was actually planning on going also to Liechtenstein, which is a little teeny tiny European country, but they actually just opened 2 years ago a hike that goes all the way across the country. And it's like, it's for those of us that like to rough it, but also like bougie hiking. So you hike all day, and then a van meets you and ports your stuff to the next town. So like you basically hike from like hotel to hotel. And then, so you hike all day, you get to your hotel, they have dinner, and then you spend the night. The next morning you leave, you get back on the trail, and then your stuff is waiting for you in the next village. So that's my kind of hiking, guys. I mean, I love the other stuff, but that's like my European hiking, I think. I definitely want to do that. So definitely on the list. But yeah, lots of places internationally that I want to go. What snacks do I like to take hiking from random stuff? It kind of depends. So I'm actually going to make a video about what I eat and what I cook for hikes and backpacks in the next couple weeks. I am actually putting together a whole series on hiking preparedness that's going to come out on YouTube. And the first video is coming out this Sunday, and then I'll kind of, scatter them throughout the next couple of months. But I will have a video on that. But a lot of the times I actually will make like pancakes the night before. I make these like banana, no sugar pancakes. It's basically like banana, oats, and soy milk, and an egg and vanilla extract. And I put that in like a food processor, and then I make that into a pancake. They actually keep really well overnight, and it's a great like high protein and good carbohydrate snack. And so I take that sometimes. I'll take some of those and have those for breakfast on the trail or lunch on the trail. I also sometimes do like a vegan sausage and a tortilla as a lunch, or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich as well. And I usually bring like either trail mix or some kind of granola bar and dried fruit as well. Those are kind of like my go-to trail snacks. And sometimes I just have like something random. I also really love to have a bag of salt and vinegar potato chips as well. Mrs. Vicky's are my favorite. And that's kind of my little like hiking cheat for when I'm doing a really long trip as well. Those are some of my snacks, but I'm happy if you guys want to share some of your favorite snacks in the chat, go for it as well. And thank you if some of you have to jump off. I'm probably only going to be on here for a few more minutes, but thank you for joining for the last 40 minutes. For those of you, I saw Exploring Bucket List has to go, but thank you for joining. Alaskan Mal says, good evening. I hike solo also and enjoy your videos. My brother wanted to know if you have ever hiked the Mysterious Lights Marfa in Texas. I haven't. Texas is another place where I haven't done any hiking. I actually used to manage a territory in Texas for my old job when I worked for Vitamin Water, which was like eons ago now. But I actually managed El Paso as part of my territory. But I would always just drive through and work there. I never really did any exploring or hiking. That was kind of before I got into all of this world. And so I've never really been back to do much exploring, but I'd love to check out some more hiking in Texas. I haven't heard much about it, but I'm definitely going to look into it. So haven't hiked there, but I'll add it to my list. Chuck said, would I actually play dead though if a bear attacked? So he's talking about that bear attack. Guys, I don't know if I could play dead. I don't know could you? I mean, so when I first went to Yellowstone as a kid, and I think I was like maybe 7, I think. And I remember going with I went with my mom, my dad, and my sister. And I remember before we left, my dad made us do this like bear safety, like I don't remember if it was like a class or like a park ranger, or like he made us read like some book on like bear safety. But I remember it was like, for one bear, you climb a tree, if you see the bear and it's like coming at you, you get to the nearest tree and you climb the damn tree and climb it as fast as you can. And that was like how you escaped that bear. And then the next bear, you had to like make really big motions, yell and scream and like be really big. And then the third bear, you play dead. And I was like, all right, Dad, I'm going to do that. That sounds great. I was like a 7-year-old. And so I've always remembered that. So I don't know if I could actually do it, but those 3 rules have been ingrained in me ever since I was a child because of that. So thanks for the question, or the comment, I should say. And hi to Travis Molly. Hi from Michigan to Oregon. Oh, cool. Well, have a great trip to Oregon. Awesome. Have I ever thought of hiking the Camino de Santiago in Spain? Mike says his 93-year-old dad is going to do it next year. That's so awesome. Yes, I actually have thought about hiking it. You should send me a DM too, because I actually just connected recently with a YouTuber and blogger who specifically does videos on the Camino de Santiago, and you should probably send it to your dad because he's written like a guidebook, I believe, on hiking it. So definitely check that out. And if you get a chance to send me a DM, I'll see if I can find the guy's information and send it to you. But yeah, the Camino de Santiago would be awesome. There actually also this trail that goes across Norway that I was reading about recently that not a lot of people know about. And it's another pilgrimage route from the old days, many, many, many years ago. And it goes through, I believe, Sweden and then up through northern Norway into the Arctic. So that's something that I definitely thought was really interesting and I would definitely want to do as well. Travis Molly says, so far I've hiked Half Dome and Yosemite, Angel's Landing, and the Grand Canyon. That is awesome. Goals right there, guys. Goals. That's awesome. Way to go, Travis. Hi, North Texas hiker. Good to see you in the chat. Hi, DG. Any suggestions on how to do long international hikes sustainably? I'd love to do Everest, but the trash environment impact. Yikes. Yeah, so that's such a great question. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I don't want to do Everest. It has become such a tourist trap, really. It's like if you have enough money and enough time, you can just go and do Everest. Like, it's like these people don't even have training. They're basically like dragged up the mountain or left for dead if they don't make it. I know that the Nepalese government over the last year has done a lot to try and get rid of a lot of the trash on Everest. I'm not sure what the status of that is though. And I know that off Everest Base Camp, they've taken like a couple of tons of trash over the last year. But yeah, it is really sad to see that a lot of places don't manage these mountains very well. I would say if you're going to do long international hikes and you want to do them sustainably, I would do your research. There's a lot of mountains that are part of UNESCO World Heritage Sites where they usually do a really good job of protecting the ecosystem. I would also be really mindful and try and plan out what you're eating and how you can either make most of your food at home or think about like the packaging that you're either buying it in or that you're keeping it in. I would say just from experience being on trails, I often see like little plastic bags on the trail, which you can tell like people put their snacks in. I always carry my snacks in a silicone, like reusable Ziploc bag, and I take it home with me and wash it and reuse it. So it would just be really cognizant about the types of things you're bringing with you on the trail and what you're doing with that garbage at the end of the hike as well, and just making sure that you're advocating for environmentally responsible companies if you are planning on like trekking with a trekking company or, picking hotels and food and supporting local businesses as well. So those would be kind of my tips for long international hikes, but also doing your research on what mountains you're planning on hiking, what the kind of conservation plans are, if they do have a management plan for, said specific mountain or hike. I know many years ago now, I hiked Kinabalu in Indonesia, or in Malaysia, I should say. Sorry. And that was a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and they were so on point on making sure nobody left trash on that mountain. It was one of the most pristine mountains I've ever hiked. And they really made sure that every person, every guide made sure that there was no trash ever left on the mountain, that whatever you had as far as wrappers, you put in your backpack and you took down with you. If you smoked a cigarette, which our guide did, that you took your cigarette butt down with you. So I would just make sure that you do your research. And I know it's not always the easiest thing to do to like look into that stuff, but I would definitely try to just be mindful of the companies and the places that you go. What is my favorite state for hiking? I think probably Colorado is one of my favorite states for hiking. There's just so many different hikes. There's so many different types of hikes. You can do, super high 14,000 footers. You can do hiking to hot springs. You can hike through lush valleys with wildflowers. Just a lot of options. So Colorado is probably one of my favorite states for that. Random Stuff says, I eat a banana pancake once a week. Never thought to take that hiking. Yeah, I mean, I make them, I put them in the fridge and I put them in a little bag and then I take them with me on the trail. Sometimes I even put peanut butter and jelly in between them and I have like a pancake sandwich. So it's like the perfect trail snack, and then it's homemade and you're not eating something that has preservatives or other bad stuff for you in it. So I really like doing that. Hello to you in Wisconsin, GT Racer. Nice to see you. Patrick says, what is on your hiking bucket list for the States? I'm looking to do Mount Rainier and the Presidential Traverse possibly next year. Well, it's funny that you said Mount Rainier because I'm actually talking to two other women that I'm friends with about doing Mount Rainier maybe later this year. So that's definitely on the list. The other day I was also looking at the Wonderland Trail, which circumnavigates Mount Rainier, and it's about 95 miles. And that one looked really beautiful, and I think it would be a really awesome couple-day backpacking trip, maybe to get ready for Mount Rainier, or maybe to do like before or after, something like that. I'm also going to be spending a bunch of time, as I've said in previous videos, in the Pacific Northwest at the beginning of this summer, and I plan to hike in Oregon, maybe do Mount Hood, go to Crater Lake, hike in Eastern Washington, a little bit in those areas as well. So I'm also going to be doing Mount Whitney this year, which I've somehow neglected to never do. So those are some of the hikes that I'm planning on doing this year. And as I said before as well, I'm going to do Denali at some point. Hopefully next year I will be able to get up there and do that one as well. Hello from Virginia. Oh, hello to you too. As you guys know, I've done a little bit of hiking in Virginia, and I'll be back soon to do some more hikes as well. Have I had male hikers not take me seriously? Good question. I'm not sure. I typically hike and see so few people on the trail that I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess maybe in general, people don't take me seriously. So I'll just leave that at that. How many of the 50 states have I hiked in? I'm just going to say 10 because I don't want to sit here in silence. So we'll go with that. I'm sure it's maybe more or less. But I would like to hike in all 50 states. Also, Hawaii has amazing hiking, and I love it there and can't wait to go back. MD, hello from Montrose, Colorado. Hello. I know where that is. Good to see you in the chat, and hope you're enjoying Colorado. Have I seen any squatches? Not yet, but I think last night in my yurt, I was starting to look kind of like a Sasquatch. So, but not yet. I'm still looking for the Sasquatches, guys. Colorado is the Himalayas of America. Yes, it is. It's actually the Switzerland of America in Uray, if you guys have been through that beautiful little town as well. What are some of the places that I want to hike in the future? Well, I've kind of gone over this, but yeah, I definitely want to hike in Peru. I want to hike in Patagonia, Venezuela, Alaska. I'd like to do, as I said, a lot of the 7 summits, but not Mount Everest. I'd like to go back to Africa and do some more hiking there. And I'd love to go and hike in some of the Indonesian islands as well. So those are kind of some of the places on the short list. And if I ever get the chance, I'd love to go to Russia and hike. There's a really tall mountain there that sounds pretty awesome. And also Japan. My sister was telling me about, the mountains in northern Japan the other day and all the bears. So I think that's now on my list as well. Which reef should we try to see on our next trip? So many are dying or gone. Same question, but for glaciers, since they are melting or gone, says Umya. That's a really great question. The reefs, yeah. For those of you that aren't scuba divers, coral reefs are unfortunately being decimated like all around the world and being bleached from the warming oceans and the acidification of the oceans, which will probably be another video pretty soon on my Nature News channel. But yeah, sadly, the Great Barrier Reef has heavily been bleached, which means the coral is dying. It's not necessarily able to come back from that. I would recommend for your next trip, if you're going diving, I really love Belize. The reefs there are pretty healthy. There's a lot of sharks, and I really love my last diving trip there. I know that also the Sea of Cortez, the southern area down by Los Cabos, is really beautiful as far as marine life. So I would recommend both of those places, and Guadalupe Island as well, out kind of off the western side of Baja, I've heard is really amazing. So I would recommend both of those. And as far as glaciers go, those are also melting, as we know, very quickly. And one place that I'd really like to go as far as glaciers is northern Canada. And I'd also like to go to Greenland and see the glaciers there. So those are 2 places on my list. And I've already committed to going to Antarctica in the next 2 years as well. So hope that answered your question, but I'm going to definitely be talking about that more in some upcoming episodes of Nature News. What are my thoughts on longest hike that you have ever done in one day? How many calories do you eat when you hike? And I know you're burning off a lot of calories. Yeah, so like today's hike was, I think, about 5 miles. I burned about 800 calories. But on longer hikes, I would say typically if I do a lot of elevation, you know, you're burning like 1,600 to 2,000 extra calories, or at least that's me, like my body size and metabolism. So, you know, you need at least like 3,000 to 4,000 calories to get you through that kind of amount of vigorous exercise. The longest hike I've ever done in a day was probably about 15 miles. I typically try not to do more than that in a day because that's a pretty big undertaking. I don't like to necessarily hike at night unless I'm planning on doing a night hike. So I typically try not to do hikes that are more than 14 miles round trip, just as far as like a safety thing. You don't know if something goes wrong. That's definitely going to put you into the nighttime hours with just the amount of time that it takes to hike. Typically, it takes me about 25 to 30 minutes per mile hiking. And I would say it's good to know that as well before you start a hike. If you're new to hiking, I would also just track your hikes and see what your time is so that you have an idea of like, okay, well, I'm going to do a 5-mile hike. I know that's going to take me, it's going to take me 2.5 hours, but it might take somebody else 5 hours. So it's good to know that so you can kind of plan your day, plan your safety procedures around that, and being able to tell somebody, hey, I'm leaving at this time. I should be back by this time. So that you have a safety mechanism in place there in case something does go wrong. So that's the longest hike that I usually do in a day. And if it's longer than that, I would plan like an overnight trip for that. Oh, and how many calories do I eat? So I actually don't eat a ton of calories when I hike. When I did Kilimanjaro, they try to get you to eat a lot. I don't know how many calories I would eat in a day. I would say it was probably maybe like 2,000. I would say on days that I hike that I probably eat like 700 calories because I like to eat and walk. So I probably need to eat more when I hike. I wouldn't recommend necessarily doing what I do on long hike days. David Cooper, am I left-handed? I'm actually right-handed, but my dad was left-handed. So no, I'm not left-handed, right-handed. I look strong. Well, thank you guys. I am a stunt woman, so I have to stay pretty strong for my job. Other than ice, what in Greenland would you like to see on a trip? I would like to see all the animals in Greenland and just the incredible landscapes, the ice there. I mean, definitely, I know you said other than ice, but I think it would be the ice and the animals and the, just the history of climate change, seeing climate change, I guess, as well, and seeing that in real life. That sapling needs a bigger... Well, guys, I think he's talking about my bamboo tree. He's growing slowly. I do water him. All right, guys. Well, this has been so much fun. It's already been an hour, and I'm going to end this video tonight right here. I just want to thank all of you guys for joining. I know there's still a couple of questions here. Keep them coming. Send me a DM. I'll be doing these videos more often. So also, if you guys have topics that you'd like me to chat about in these live videos, go ahead and send me a DM or leave a comment on this YouTube video today so that I can add that to my list as well. And I can talk more about like movie stuff and things like that. But if you guys are new here, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And thank you guys so much for joining, for being part of this community. And for all of you guys that are new subscribers, thank you so, so much. If you guys want to get a sticker from Alice's Adventures that you can put on your water bottle, there's also a link in the description that you can get one of those. And pretty soon I'm going to be launching some merchandise. So if you guys think of anything that you think would be cool, t-shirts, photos that are framed of like some of the awesome places that I visited, let me know also in the comments of this video. And I will see you guys soon. As I said, I'm going to have a new video that comes out Sunday on those 10 hiking essentials. So for those of you that are new to hiking and want to make sure you have all the right stuff, definitely check that video out. And then today's adventure of some waterfalls and staying in a yurt will be out in 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you have those notifications turned on as well. And I will make a note of some of these last minute questions, guys. But I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening on this wonderful Sunday night.